In a tense courtroom, a strict judge was about to rule when a little girl broke the silence. "I'm hungry." The room froze. Her mother was mortified, but what the judge did next shocked everyone, changing everything. Before we begin, please comment where you're listening from, and if you enjoy stories like these, subscribe for more narratives. Let's begin. Samantha Davis woke up before dawn, just like every other day. The small apartment she shared with her 6-year-old daughter Olivia was quiet, save for the hum of the early morning city streets outside. Brooklyn never slept, but Sam hardly did either. That morning was no different, except today, instead of rushing to work at the downtown bakery, she had to stand before a judge for something that felt so small yet loomed so large, a $200 parking ticket. As Sam looked at Olivia, still sleeping soundly with her favorite stuffed bunny, guilt washed over her. She had meant to park in the wrong spot. She was just trying to get Liv medicine for her fever last week. Now, they were stuck in a situation she couldn't afford. "Come on, Liv," she whispered softly, brushing the little girl's curls. "We have to go." The Brooklyn courthouse was intimidating. The ceilings were tall, the walls gray, and the guards as stern as statues. Sam felt small, holding Olivia's hand tightly as they entered. Everyone whispered about Judge Thomas Alden, the man they were about to face. Known across New York as the unforgiving judge, a man who followed the law to the letter with no exceptions. Sam had no idea how to convince someone like him to let her off the fine. As they waited for their turn, Sam rehearsed her plea in her mind. "Your Honor, I'm a single mother. I was only parked for a few minutes. I couldn't afford to miss work." The BFF's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Case number 118, Samantha Davis." Sam swallowed hard. "Come on, Liv," she whispered. The little girl looked up at her with trusting eyes as they approached the bench where Judge Alden sat, serious, expressionless, and towering behind his massive desk. Judge Alden flipped through the paperwork with methodical precision. His tone was cold and sharp, the steady sound of pages turning filling the tense courtroom like the ticking of an invisible clock, counting down to a verdict. "You parked illegally in a wheelchair-designated spot," Judge Alden said, his gravelly voice echoing. "Do you deny this?" Samantha Davis felt her knees buckle. She clutched Olivia's small hand like a lifeline, trying to steady her nerves. "No, Your Honor," she began, but before she could finish, a small voice shattered the courtroom's oppressive silence. "Can we get pancakes, please?" The words hung in the air for a heartbeat, then two. The sound seemed to bounce off the walls, amplifying the shock Sam felt. Every pair of eyes in the courtroom swiveled toward them. Her pulse spiked, and her face flushed crimson. The gasps were immediate, like a collective intake of breath before a storm. Whispers, stifled laughter, wide-eyed disbelief. Who dared interrupt Judge Thomas Alden, the most unyielding figure in the Brooklyn judicial system? Even Judge Alden himself froze mid-sentence, his pen pausing in the air as if someone had hit the brakes on time itself. Slowly, he lifted his steely gaze from the papers to the tiny voice's source. Olivia, Sam's 6-year-old daughter, standing barely as tall as the podium next to her mother. Sam's heart stopped. "Olivia," she hissed, mortified beyond belief. She crouched slightly, gripping her daughter's shoulders. "What are you doing?" But Olivia looked up at her mother, unfazed and unbothered. Her big brown eyes full of innocence. "My tummy's making loud noises," she said matter-of-factly, pointing toward her belly. "I'm hungry." The murmur of the crowd turned into suppressed chuckles, disbelief mixing with amusement. Several audience members exchanged glances, trying to stifle smiles behind their hands. Even the BFF's stern expression faltered, his mouth twitching at the corners. For what felt like an eternity, Judge Alden sat unmoving, his eyes, normally cold and unyielding, studied the little girl with something close to curiosity, something no one had ever seen from him. Sam's stomach churned. "This is it," she thought. Her heart hammered. "This is the moment he throws the book at us." Then, in a move that shocked the entire courtroom, Judge Alden slowly raised one eyebrow. "Did you just say pancakes?" His tone was not sharp or scolding, it was almost curious. The room fell into a stunned hush. No one breathed. Sam blinked at the judge, unable to comprehend what she had just heard. Beside her, Olivia nodded eagerly. Yeah, pancakes with syrup, please. This time, the silence didn't hold. A ripple of surprise spread through the room, and then, laughter erupted. Someone coughed to cover it, another snorted, and soon the tension cracked like ice on a pond. Sam buried her face in her hands, her cheeks burning. She wanted to sink into the floor and vanish into nothing. I'm so sorry, Your Honor, she blurted out, her voice barely audible over the laughter. She's just hungry. It's been a long morning, and we rushed to get here. Judge Alden held up a hand, and the courtroom fell quiet again. Sam clamped her mouth shut, her chest rising and falling as she braced for his anger. But there was no anger on Judge Alden's face. He leaned back in his tall leather chair, his sharp features softened by something unrecognizable, an expression somewhere between amusement and thoughtfulness. Miss Davis, he said evenly, though his voice held the faintest hint of warmth, are you telling me you didn't have time for breakfast this morning? Sam swallowed hard. No, Your Honor. It was a rush to get here. She glanced down at Olivia, who was standing proudly, her hands clasped in front of her as if she had just made the most reasonable request in the world. Judge Alden looked back at Olivia, who met his gaze without flinching. There was no fear in the little girl's eyes, just trust, the kind of trust only a child could offer to a stranger in a black robe. What's your name, young lady? Judge Alden asked. Olivia said confidently, Olivia, but you can call me Liv. Another soft ripple of laughter spread across the room. Even Sam, despite her embarrassment, couldn't help but smile faintly at her daughter's fearless response. Well, Liv, the judge said, his tone surprisingly gentle, I don't believe I've ever had anyone request pancakes in my courtroom before. Liv tilted her head thoughtfully. Maybe you should have some too. They make you happy. The audience erupted again, this time with genuine laughter. Even Judge Alden, to everyone's disbelief, allowed the smallest smile to tug at the corner of his mouth. Sam's breath caught in her throat. Did he just smile? For a man who had earned a reputation as the most unyielding judge in Brooklyn, this small moment felt like a seismic shift. Judge Alden shook his head almost, as if to collect himself. Let's take a short recess, he announced abruptly, his voice firm but light. The bailiff leaned in, clearly surprised. Your Honor, recess? Judge Alden repeated, I'll need a moment. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the judge stood and disappeared through a side door, leaving everyone, Sam included, staring after him in shock. Mommy? Olivia whispered, tugging on Sam's sleeve. Is he going to get pancakes for us? Sam couldn't answer. She had no idea what was happening anymore. But for the first time since walking into that cold, intimidating courtroom, she felt something new, hope. Judge Alden leaned forward slightly, his cold exterior cracking just a little. Young lady, are you saying you're hungry? Liv nodded solemnly. We didn't eat breakfast. Sam stammered, trying to apologize. I'm so sorry, Your Honor. It was a rush to get here this morning. She didn't mean to interrupt. Judge Alden held up a hand, silencing her gently. Miss Davis, give me a moment. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs, people exchanging glances, whispering about the judge's surprising patience. This wasn't his usual style. To Sam's surprise, Judge Alden softened his tone and addressed Liv directly. What does your mom do for work? Liv perked up at the question. She makes cakes and cookies at a bakery, and sometimes she works late at a restaurant. The judge nodded thoughtfully. That sounds like a lot of work. The room fell silent as Liv kept talking innocently about how her mom worked so hard and how they didn't have much time together because she was always busy. Sam stood frozen, tears welling up as her daughter unknowingly laid bare their struggles for the whole courtroom to hear. When court resumed, the air in the room felt different, lighter, as though Olivia's innocent honesty had cracked open a window and let the sun stream in. Samantha sat at the defendant's table with her daughter perched quietly beside her, legs swinging contentedly from the unexpected pancakes. Judge Alden re-entered the room, his black robe flowing as he took his seat. The room fell into silence again, but this time there was no tension. The usual weight of his presence had softened, replaced by something no one expected: understanding. Clearing his throat, Judge Alden adjusted his glasses and looked directly at Samantha. "Miss Davis," he began, his voice even but carrying a new warmth. "I've reviewed your case." Sam held her breath, bracing herself. Would he reduce the fine? Ask for payments? Her heart pounded, preparing for the worst. "You have a clean record," Judge Alden continued. "Not a single ticket, citation, or legal infraction. You've done your best to stay on the right side of the law, and I understand the circumstances that led to this." Sam gripped the edge of the table. The room seemed to shrink around her as she waited for the decision that would change everything. Then came the words that hit her like a wave of relief. "Given your history and your efforts to provide for your daughter," Judge Alden said, his voice strong and clear, "I'm dismissing the $200 ticket." For a split second, no one moved. And then it happened. The quiet courtroom erupted into applause, soft at first, then rising into a chorus of claps, murmurs, and even a few cheers. The BFF's stony expression cracked into a small smile, and the people seated in the gallery nodded in approval, murmuring things like, "It's about time," and "That's the right call." Sam gasped, her hand flying to her mouth as tears welled up in her eyes. She couldn't believe what she'd just heard. Her shoulders sagged, as though a weight had been lifted, one she had carried for far too long. "Thank you," she whispered through her tears, her voice breaking with emotion. "Thank you so much, Your Honor." Olivia looked up at her mom, smiling wide, as though she'd always known it would turn out okay. "See, Mommy? I told you pancakes make people happy." The courtroom chuckled softly, but Judge Alden wasn't finished. He reached for a folder resting on his desk and opened it carefully. "Miss Davis," he said, addressing her with newfound gentleness, "while dismissing this ticket alleviates some immediate stress, I realize it doesn't solve the bigger challenges you face." Sam looked up, confusion mixing with the relief on her tear-streaked face. "I'm providing you with resources that may help," Judge Alden said, handing a printed sheet of paper to the bailiff, who carried it over to Sam. "This list includes programs for childcare support, job training, and, most importantly, an online degree program at no cost to you." Sam stared at the paper, the words blurring through her tears. There they were, real opportunities, resources she didn't know existed. "Job training, childcare," she whispered, her voice cracking as she read the words aloud. Her hands trembled as she held the list, as though it might vanish if she let go. Judge Alden continued, "I know that being a single mother comes with challenges most of us can't imagine. These resources will give you a chance to build something better for you and your daughter." Sam's knees felt weak. She clutched the list to her chest like a lifeline, barely able to look up. I don't know how to thank you," she stammered, her voice breaking completely. "You don't need to," Judge Alden said, offering a faint but genuine smile. "Justice isn't just about punishment. It's also about understanding, about helping when we can." Sam couldn't stop crying now, silent tears of gratitude, disbelief, and relief. Olivia, oblivious to the deeper meaning of it all, tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, are you happy now?" Sam pulled her daughter close, pressing a kiss to her curls. "Yes, baby. I'm happy." Judge Alden's voice echoed one final time through the courtroom. "This case is dismissed." The courtroom erupted into applause again, louder this time. People stood to their feet, cheering softly, as though witnessing something rare and precious. Justice served with a human heart. For Samantha, it wasn't just about the dismissed ticket. It was about the hope that had been restored, the kindness she'd been shown in a place where she least expected it. As Sam and Olivia left the courtroom, the list of resources still clutched in her hand, she looked back at Judge Alden. He wasn't just a stern judge anymore. He was someone who saw her, someone who cared. "Thank you," she whispered again, though this time it wasn't just for the dismissed fine. It was for a second chance. For the first time in years, Sam walked out of a courtroom not defeated, but empowered. And as she held Olivia's hand tightly, she realized that, even in the unlikeliest of places, there was kindness and hope for those willing to see it. News of the judge's unexpected kindness spread quickly. Local news stations and social media picked up the heartwarming story of a judge who broke his own mold because of a hungry 6-year-old's honesty. For Sam, it was the start of something new. She enrolled in the online degree program and secured better childcare support. For the first time in years, she felt hope. As for Judge Alden, the encounter changed him too. He realized that the law wasn't just about punishment, it was about protecting those who needed help the most. One sunny morning months later, Sam sat at their small kitchen table, studying for her classes. Liv happily munched on pancakes, her favorite breakfast. "Mommy, do you think the nice judge likes pancakes too?" Liv asked with a giggle. Sam smiled warmly. "I think so, sweetie. I really think he does. Sometimes a child's honesty can open hearts, change lives, and remind us all that kindness can be found in the most unexpected places." What do you think of the judge's decision? Was it the right call to dismiss the fine and help a struggling mother? And if you were in the judge's shoes, what would you have done? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. We'll see you in the next video.